Hello, everybody, and welcome to FourWheelTech for August 3rd, 2025. I am MayorWatt. I run ohmTown.com, and that's the visualizer for me right there. Today, we're going to be talking about when this thing hits 186 miles per hour and the Mazda MX-30 and why we don't have airless tires yet. Why do Jeeps have 7-slot grills and upending the Ford F-150 Hegemony? But it's really not. It's just an interesting article about an unassuming crossover threatening to upend Ford's F-150, I guess, carve out of vehicle sales. Anyway, everything's powered by ohmTown.com. This is just one of 50 different channels, 6 of which are weekend shows. One is a daily show, Non Sequitur News. But we've got 6 podcasts that are weekly, one that is daily. It gets turned into YouTube stream and Twitch live stream Monday through Friday, and then on Saturdays and Sundays, and before and after the actual live shows during the week. We replay the shows, the last 2 weeks of news, 160 plus articles, all kinds of information, and the links are all embedded in the show notes over on YouTube. And unfortunately, Twitch deletes everything after 60 days, even though I pay to retain it to that level. At any rate, let's get into it. All right, let's go. This is the front page of ohmTown, but we're really here for FourWheelTech, and that's the front page of FourWheelTech. But this article is the Bugatti that hits 186 miles per hour, and every customer's W16 Mistral and drives them at least 250 miles before delivery. So that's a lot to unpack. Daniel Golson over at jalopnik.com put the article together, and it says here that Bugatti has a 217-mile test route through Alsace, that includes traditional Alsatian villages, winding country roads that showcase the W16 Mistral's agility, long highway stretches intended to evaluate stability and comfort during sustained cruising, and mountain passes that challenge the powertrain under range of elevation and atmospheric conditions, the fairly obsessional automaker says. After that, further testing is done to make sure that every aspect of the car is absolutely perfect. Then Bugatti's test drivers take it to the Colmar airfield, where they test out the stability control and brakes and hit 186 miles per hour on the runway. In all, every Bugatti covers at least 250 miles before a customer ever takes delivery. So I guess you're not buying a new car, you're buying a car that has been ridden hard and put away wet at 250 miles before you even see it. And I don't know, maybe they toweled it off. Anyway, that's the Mistral. It's a beautiful looking car, but my God. Do you really need to go? The Bugatti hasn't said how fast the Mistral can go with the roof on, but they say it's a bit less than the record-breaking 282 miles per hour it hit with the roof off. With the roof on, it's going to be a bit less. You'd think that with the roof off, it hitting 282 might suck a person out of the room. I mean, geez, that's insane. The Mistral's quad-turbo W16 sounds like nothing else. The Bugatti has carefully engineered it that way. Noise testing includes evaluation with and without the soft top roof, analysis of wind and road noise characteristics, assessment of exhaust systems, acoustic signature, and verification of chassis and tire rolling dynamics. It's important for humans to do Bugatti's testing, they say. And it's all for peace of mind. Putting every vehicle through a minimum of 400 kilometers of assessment or evaluation protocol isn't just about validity, but about confirmation that each W16 Mistral is imbued with the pure essence of quality, precision, and craftsmanship. Oh my. So they've got pictures. There's more information over there. There's no price on this. At least I don't think. $5 million at least is the estimate here on the article, but I don't think they have an actual price, because I guess it depends on customization. Let's keep going. The next article is decidedly on the other end of the economic spectrum. It's over in FourWheelTech. Mazda MX-30 is one of the rarest cars you can still buy for under $15,000. Only 605 of the low-range MX-30 EV were sold in the U.S. in less than 2 years, and they're getting really cheap. That's it right there. Colin Woodard over at Jalopnik put the article together. So you'd be pretty excited, right? Well, then it's time to head to Arizona to pick up a new to you Mazda MX-30 if you want to buy one for $15,000. Less than $15,000. Now, a lot of people just noped out of this whole thing because they have no interest in a small electric crossover that only offered 100 miles of range when new, and I get that, they say. Again, this is Colin Woodard. Let's see here. They say, and legitimately rare. This is one of the 3 Corvettes built with this exact spec on July 25th that happened to fall on a Wednesday rare. By the time Mazda finally pulled the plug on the MX-30 EV sales in the US, after not even full 2 years on the market, they had sold barely 600 of them because it only had 100 miles range. Put a little gas engine in there that can act as a generator to power up the battery pack, and I'm good. Fill the trunk up with a little gas engine. That's fine with me. There's a good chance that this sub $15,000 MX-30 would be the only one in the entire state. I like its design. I like that right there. It feels comfy. It looks comfy. You wouldn't want to do that in a future collectible, would you? So they say we're talking about one of the apparently 605 examples ever sold in the US, and all those road trip miles would just destroy its value. Just imagine pulling into Cars and Coffee behind the wheel of one of these. Unlike CNC staples such as Dodge Challenger and Chevrolet Corvette, most people haven't even seen one in person before. When you got there, they'd be so excited they would treat you like royalty, and you would be their king, the official winner of Cars and Coffee. And unlike other EVs that you could buy for similar money, the cabin is actually a pretty nice place to spend some time. It looks like it. Anyway, I might have to go and check it out. They say it's rare, it's cheap, it's cool. Wait, I'm talking myself into buying a heavily depreciated MX-30. No, I can't do that. I don't have the space for another car unless my girlfriend wanted to sell her perfectly reliable Camry. Yeah, that actually looks really nice. So I like Mazda. Yeah, that looks actually pretty cool. But is it a 4-door? I'll have to look at it. All right. Well, anyway, so why cars still don't have airless tires yet? After decades of development, we still don't have flat-proof, no-maintenance airless tires. What are the pros and cons, and what's the holdup? Well, wait a minute. What just happened? Okay, there we go. So I think their name is Chino Ortiz. The article is over at jalopnik.com. Those looks like some badass tires, and I want those. That looks really awesome. Anyway, the idea behind airless or non-pneumatic tires isn't exactly new. Michelin introduced the Tweel in 2005. More recently, Uptis, unique puncture-proof tire system. Prototype promised a legit airless design for passenger cars. Goodyear, Bridgestone, others have thrown their versions into the mix. The appeal is clear. No punctures, no blowouts, no worry. Don't have to do pressure checks, even or uneven wear, or worry about cold or heat or whatever. But there's roadblocks. Airless tires still feel like a prototype dream. One reason is simple: physics. Traditional tires rely on air pressure to distribute load evenly and absorb road shocks. Remove that cushion and suddenly everything from ride comfort to handling takes a hit due to airless tire stiffness. Current airless prototypes tend to transfer more road noise and vibration into the cabin than traditional radials, making the ride harsher, especially at highway speeds. Heat buildup is another issue. At high speeds, traditional tires dissipate heat through their air volume and structure. Airless tires, particularly those with internal webbing or solid cores, have fewer ways to shed thermal load, which can lead to material fatigue, or solid cores have fewer ways to shed that thermal load, which can lead to material fatigue or performance degradation. So that's basically it. Plus regulatory issues. There are rules Vehicle tires are subject to rigorous performance standards, many of which assume air pressure as a baseline. Airless tires would require new categories, new safety certifications, new federal test procedures. Until regulators catch up, manufacturers can't legally put these on any car. You can do your off-roading on it and stuff like that, but you can't hit any road with other fellow citizens on it. Otherwise, you are entirely liable for anything that might happen. Not just, oh, it's an accident covered by insurance. You are entirely, it's criminal. So according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, even minor tire modifications must pass extensive load endurance and deformation testing before they're allowed on public roads. Rules airless tires must essentially rewrite. Let's keep going. The next article is over in FourWheelTech as well. Why do Jeeps have a 7-slot grill? There's more than one theory. There are many ideas about why Jeeps today have 7 slots. Sorry, 2 fewer slots in their grills than during World War II. And the author, Paul Stadden, put this article together. I think it's it wouldn't be a symmetry thing because it would have still be symmetrical. But anyway, let's call them divergent, they say. Theories about why Willys put a 7-slot grill in the civilian Jeep started in 1945 when the military version had 9. It's not so much a mystery as the Jeep Wrangler ducking phenomenon and its baffling ubiquity, but one conspiracy at a time. If you started going down the rabbit hole or rabbit trail on Google, you're going to find a lot of articles that either claim to have definitive answer or throw their metaphorical hands in the air and say, we don't know. The most common theory is that Ford had a patent trademark copyright on the stamped steel 9-slot grill it designed for the project. Willys Overland wasn't allowed to use it, or at least feared Ford enough to not to even try it. So the company trademarked a 7-slot grill instead, which seems like it shouldn't even be possible, but okay. Maybe that specific angle of attack, that specific curvature of the lip of the stamping, but 7 slots shouldn't even come close to being trademarked. You can't copyright that bullshit, by the way, and you can get a patent, but it's a design patent, not a utility patent. And design patents aren't even covered by anything. They're not actually evaluated. They're like, okay, you get it. You pay, $750 and you get it. Anyway, sure, Willys filed for the Jeep trademark, but that's a trademark. That has nothing to do with that. But okay. But let's not get ahead of ourselves with busting myths just yet. The second theory is that the 7-slot grill represents the 7 continents where the Jeep saw military service. The third and probably biggest stretch is that the 7 slots somehow refer to the 7 months it took to design, the 7 people who designed it, or the 7 years needed for production and development. 7, 8, 9. Womp, womp. Anyway, they go into greater detail about this, but they talk about uncovering the truth about Ford's 9-slot grill patent, copyright, trademark. And they said they decided to find the mysterious, often referenced Ford 9-slot grill paperwork by searching through all the patent, trademark, copyright documents the government printed between May 1940 and December 1945, including the Smithsonian scans of the U.S. patents, HathiTrust's scans of trademarks listed in the Official Gazette of the United States Patent Office and the U.S. Copyright Office public record system. They searched for Ford and grill, poring over every reference. Yes, they went through 5 years and 7 months worth of patent, trademark, and copyright filings. If the 9 slots are that important, don't you think Ford would have either made a vehicle that featured one or gone through some public wrangling with Willys over a royalty for using 9-slot grills? So, the most likely reason the grill went from 9 slots to 7 is because of headlights. That's a good possibility, or it was cheaper to just punch 7 than 9. You could make a smaller stamping press and it could fit in the corner. Who knows? But I don't buy in any of that. They said our reality isn't concerned with making things interesting. Yeah. Anyway, pretty cool. I love stuff like that. All right, the next and our final article is this assuming crossover is threatening to upend Ford's F-150 sales record. And I'm going to jump right on into it. The article is over at Jalopnik. Paul Stadden put the article together, and I was forced to take a look at this prior to the actual show because I was really curious just what the hell this was all about. But they're talking about the Toyota RAV4 beating Ford F-150's numbers by a significant amount. I mean, the F-150, I think, sold 732,000 in 2024. And the... Oh, wait, no, hold on. Let me back up here. The RAV4 sold 475,000. And the F-150 sold 460,915. So 15,000 more, roughly 15,000 more RAV4s were sold. But then they kind of pull these numbers higher because the F-250 through F-600 and industrial ones, 650 and 750, all add to the number of F-series vehicles. But this is a crossover, not a truck. It lacks the utility of a truck and the industrial nature of it. And so I find it absolutely stunning that a crossover as unassuming as the Toyota RAV4 has overtaken the entry-level F-series vehicle, the Ford F-150. But the sales people are basically saying, well, anything that has the same A to C pillar is going to match that description, so they should be counted too. But again, it's apples to oranges, and I don't really like this entire article about it, although I love the numbers and I love bringing the Ranger into it and the Maverick, which is basically old school Ford vehicle truck size. The F-150 was redesigned, and it's much bigger than it really needs to be. Although some goober out there is going to sit there and go, well, what do you mean it's bigger than it needs to be? Yeah, all right. Anyway, other considerations is that the 2024 RAV4 base suggested price is only $30,000. That's a hell of a deal for a Toyota vehicle. Ford basically is just a big cluster. Although I kind of like the size of the Maverick and Ranger trucks, but I'm kind of a weirdo because I'm not too impressed by, the big trucks. It doesn't really do much for me. Anyway, go and get a Toyota RAV4. They're actually pretty great vehicles. But then this article continues to talk about the F-150 and bigger brethren, combining the sales of the Toyota SUVs and crossovers in 2024, including the RAV4, BZ4X, Highlander, Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross, 4Runner, Venza, Sequoia, and Land Cruiser yields almost 1 million. In other words, Ford's truck pickup line alone rivals the sales of the full SUV crossover lineup from Toyota in 2024. Yeah. All right. Well, because everybody thinks that they're in this industrial whatever. They don't need a truck. What the hell was the last thing that they put in their truck other than their beer? Give me a break. Anyway, love the numbers. I will not be buying anything until I get an EREV, extended range electric vehicle that has a little gas engine. The Toyota RAV4 with its 320 horsepower PHEV sport version is the 2026 hybrid only Toyota that I would probably consider, but we shall see. At any rate, that's it for FourWheelTech, and I am out of here. We're going to bring you back to the front page of FourWheelTech over at ohmTown.com. Go over, sign up, sign in, and I'm out.